I assume it is the video, but I am not 100% sure, so maybe it might be a good idea if you also record.
Okay. I can see you.
Yes.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
See me as well or no?
Just hear you.
Okay, I've never used this, the ring. I was just curious. I want to make sure I'm not, speaking while you guys are speaking. If I can, you have power over the mute.
I do. Yes, I can.
Great. That's a
Lower
good
your
thing.
hand.
That's a good thing in these webinars. Yep. All right. I'm here. I just want to make sure I'm on the right place.
Yeah.
I will lower my hand. Thank you, guys.
Oh, looks like Kim's raising her hand.
Kim.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep. Hello, Kim.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure you could hear me.
Yeah, I think maybe only one person can talk at a time, probably. I believe that's what this hand system is all about.
Oh, okay. So before I read your bio, I'll raise hand and then read your bio. Would that be correct?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, I want to familiarize myself with rings, so okay. I'm good.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah, no problem. So do you want to wait until like a couple minutes after, make sure everyone?
Yeah, it looks like people are starting to pile in now. We have one,
Great.
2, 3, 4, 6. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we can wait till a minute or two after.
Yeah, what did you have? 12 or what was the count?
The last I saw was yesterday at 18.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, great. Okay. Well, when you're ready to go, you just let me know.
All right, I'm gonna mute you until next time. Scott, perhaps I should put the poll up.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, there's a little poll that should be popping up on each of your screens. I'm just kind of trying to get an idea on how you guys access and use your data. Watch.
David, we'll give another minute here. All right, you can probably unmute Kim and
I think she might have to unmute herself.
oh, okay.
Looks like these poll results are coming in. Seems it is hard for people to access and compile data from several different sources.
Okay. Am I unmuted?
Yep.
Okay, great. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We have a webinar today with Encompass BI, and thank you for putting this on for us today. I want to introduce your speaker, Scott Batchick, CEO of Encompass BI. I hope I pronounced that right.
That's good. That's good.
Okay. I'll tell you a little bit about him. Scott has 27 and more years of experience in healthcare with focus on strategic planning, organizational performance improvement, business intelligence, and decision support systems. He's an entrepreneur and senior executive with a strong history leading healthcare, IT, and consulting businesses. Scott's robust consulting and IT background creates a focus to drive innovation and enhance information and knowledge sharing to improve overall organizational performance. He has designed and implemented BI and DSS in over 200 healthcare organizations across the U.S., and so has been the lead in delivering BI for behavioral health and human service providers through the creation of Encompass BI. With that, I will say, take it away, Scott.
Thanks, Kim. Appreciate that.
Sure.
And I'm joined today by David Olson. David and I both work at Encompass BI, and we are, even though my title is what it is, we still are intimate in working with providers on a day-to-day basis. Encompass BI is a technology and consultancy firm located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're part of Encompass Technology Solutions, which has been in business for over 24 years. We are, as a BI firm, solely focused on human services. We don't work in any other industry, so we don't work in manufacturing or in finance. We're solely focused on healthcare and human services. And as we go through today is not about us. Today is really about introducing you to business intelligence and giving you a lay of the land of what it is, how it works, and what it could mean to you. Because a lot of people hear the term and maybe don't understand the term completely, or think that it's super complex to be able to do it, and it's not. So what we'll do is we'll start with going over a data management excellence framework, kind of the reason why you would want to go down this path. 2, we'll go over the basics of business intelligence and kind of give you the lay of land of how it works, and kind of open the doors and share some of our secret sauce with you. 3, we'll talk about technology adoption. As you think about initiatives that you do within your organization, 1 is leading the initiative. 2 is doing the change management that's revolved around the initiative, so that you drive change within the organization, specifically as it relates to BI and how important workflows and processes are and how they have to change because of this. So you have to take that into consideration. Then we're going to go through some use cases. 1 is really the executive dashboards, and we're going to show you kind of some of the examples of those and how they work. And then we'll get into a deep dive within incident management, because I think it's relevant to this group to some extent, and we'll show you how that could work. And then we'll go into a quick demo, time permitting, to give you a little bit of flavor of how BI works. We use Power BI, which is a Microsoft product. There are many different BI products out there. Probably the 2 best are Power BI and Tableau. Both of those sit within, it's called the Gartner Magic Quadrant. So those are the 2 most innovative and, we'll say, efficient and cost-effective solutions that are out there. But there are a lot out there. So we'll go through the demo, and then if there's any questions, it's a small group, so please use the raise your hand piece. I wish we were able to open up, but we can't within the software, everybody's muted, but please raise your hand so that we can, if you have questions along the way, so that we share those. So as you think about business intelligence and why you go down this path, it really starts with what are you trying to accomplish? And this excellent framework comes from the Baldrige framework, and I don't know if you're familiar with Baldrige Quality Awards. It's a presidential award that was established a while ago by a congressman, and one of the threads within the Baldrige Award is data and information. And so these come from there to say, within an excellence framework and how you think about your organization and data, there are certain things that you need to be able to be doing. One is monitoring daily operations and an overall organizational performance through the use of data, creating access and transparency of data. One of the things that we consistently hear, and this second bullet here is a super important one. One of the things that we consistently hear is, yeah, we have tons of data. It's not organized, and a lot of it's siloed within the area that is responsible for the data, and so it's not optimized, so to speak. The third point is, how do you go through processes to ensure quality integrity of the data? How do you respond to rapid and unexpected changes that either are organizational changes or external changes? And COVID is a great example. You know, people trying to understand COVID-related data, setting up infrastructures to track, monitor, and report that is been very important. And how do you use data to make fact-based decision-making? This is a very important piece for management and leadership. And then how do you complete regular performance and capability reviews and develop priorities for improvement, share comparative and best practice information, and project your organization's future performance? So as we lay out BI, and as you think about using this, these are the things that you want to accomplish. And at the end of the day, part of that is you got to change data into information and information and knowledge. And then you got to use that to drive the improvement of the organization. So everything that we do as an organization is focused around this. And as you think about getting to this, you need a technology to support with that. And that's where BI comes in. And when people think about business intelligence, most people think it's charts and graphs and really cool dashboards, but it goes way beyond that. This is probably one of the best definitions that I've found, and I really like it. So business intelligence includes the applications, the infrastructure, tools, and best practices that enable access to and analysis of information to improve and optimize decisions and performance. Right, and then as you think of what BI in the graphic there, the shapes on the outside, you know, are some of the key pieces that BI brings to the table to do that. As you look at your world, this is typically what a provider world looks like. You have many different, and well, let's call them enterprise systems that exist within your organization. You have, you know, an EHR, you have financial systems, you have quality management, payroll systems, you have HR systems, and you have state systems, HCSIS, and then some even have EMARs. But you'll see the big one in the middle here is Excel. As we work with providers, most providers do a ton of manual work and effort in the management of data, typically that sits within Excel sheets, and typically sits within one or two individuals within each respective area. And so they spend an inordinate amount of time managing that data, and then it sits on their computer and it's shared with maybe a handful of people, but does not get cross-pollinated across the organization. So it's, how do you take this blueprint of the complexities of your world today, and then how do you use this technology to help this? And so you want to go from this diagram to this diagram. This is kind of our best practice architecture. So as you're thinking about BI, and if you're thinking about you want to integrate it into your organization as a practice, this is the architecture and structure of how that works. On the left side are all your enterprise systems, the ones that we just talked about, and then we have Excel down at the bottom. And then we go through a schedule import process to take that from those systems into a database. And that it doesn't always have to go into a database, and we're going to go over this in a second. Sometimes you can access directly into the source system and report off of information right out of that source system. But if you pull it into this database or into a data warehouse, you're able to link information from various systems to produce insights and knowledge. So a great example, if I wanted to do productivity reporting within my organization, I have to go to my payroll system to get paid time so that I understand that. But if I want to look at the build time that I want to compare the paid time to, I have to go to my EHR because all the billing information is put in the EHR. So the way that you do that is pull that into the same database and to be able to run those comparisons. Then you have the BI tool, and as I referenced, there's many different options to use here, but that BI technology sits on top of the data warehouse and creates your visualizations. Those visualizations can either be graphic or tabular in nature, and I'm going to show you examples of both. And then, because today most of it sits within the cloud, and this is an important point, you have access to it from anywhere, and multiple people within the organization can have access to it. It doesn't sit on one person's computer, and the security limits are significant, so you're able to slice and create security for any level of that you want within the organization, anywhere from one individual seeing it to teams seeing it. And you have different modalities in which you can view it. A lot of the software like Power BI is very user-friendly to be able to view it on your phone. So it's become very advanced. And, as Kim said in the beginning, I've been doing BI and decision support for a long time. And in the early days, it was clunkier and you could not use it on these modalities. Today, it's super easy and it creates so much more capabilities and functionality. As we go through this, and again, if you guys have questions, raise your hand. But as we go through this, typically the area where most people have a question and say, okay, I get what you're saying, Scott, but how do I get from point A to point B? How do you get data out of those systems and into this data warehouse? Because once I have it in a database and in tables, I get how you can report on it, but how does this whole part work? And really there are a couple of ways. When you look at those source systems, you can create direct access into that system. One way of doing that is it's something called an API, which is an application programming interface. It creates an interface that defines interactions between two systems from multiple software applications. So think of it as plumbing within your home. It's how information gets from point A to point B. And once that's built, the data information can flow, and you define what information, the timing of that information, and so forth. The other way to get direct access is called a database view. Very similar, but the data doesn't leave necessarily the database. It's a set of subsets within the database that are based off of queries within it. So it's like another table within the database that you're able to access that is relevant to what you want to report. So it's kind of like building a mini database within a database to be able to pull it out for yourself. So those are great. These first two are great because once you build those, it's all automated. There's no more human intervention required. Data can flow, and you can make them as frequent as one. You can update it real time. You can update it every 5 minutes. You can update it every week, whatever you want. The second way of accessing that data is through exports. And in human services, what's wonderful, this was not the case on the physical health side as you work with hospitals or health systems. The EHRs are locked down there. Here in human services, it's wonderful because most of the EHRs are open and you can export data. There's a manual step where you have to run a report, but you're able to get to that data. So the way that works is you run that report out of the EHR or whatever system. It could be even from another different system. And I think the state EIM system is a great example. We'll go through that one in a little bit. But you run those reports, you put those at a location, and then you put the BI technology on top of those reports so you can grab the information that you want. And then the third way to access is just through manual data sources. So some of these aren't enterprise systems, and this really relates to the Excel piece. The data sits within an Excel. The wonderful part about Power BI, because it's a Microsoft product, it interfaces very well with Excel and SharePoint. And so you can create an Excel file, or you can create a SharePoint list, or you can put an Excel file right in SharePoint, and the BI technology can grab that data and pull it and report on it. And it can update that as frequently as you want as well. So for example, if I had a list in SharePoint, and I'm putting information in, and a great example of how providers are using this, if we have staff across the region that are entering risk factors related to COVID when they begin their shift, or their temperature, have they been have they come in contact with someone who's had COVID, so forth. If they enter that into the SharePoint list, the Power BI can update that and report back to that within minutes. So that's how you access the data. I hope that was helpful. The other part of it that's important with that, there's a technology that's called the data migration technology. It's data integration and workflow applications. A great example is one called SSIS, which is SQL Server Integration Services. So it's, again, a Microsoft product, so it works well with that. But once you have the definitions of what you want to grab and how you want to grab it and how frequently you want to do it, you define it in there, and then it's built, and it automatically works. So you don't have to manually do any work there. And so that's an important part of this first piece. So I don't see any hands up, so I'm going to keep going. So now that if we go back through, you have these enterprise systems, you've got ways to get the data, pull it into a certain location. What do you want to look at? And I always think it's good to start with the end in mind. As we work with providers, these are the 13 most prevalent areas that providers like to grab information. One is finance and cost accounting. I'm not going to go through each of them, but some of the bigger ones are finance, incident management, productivity utilization. Quality is becoming a big item as we migrate to value-based purchasing within healthcare. On the human services side, quality has become a big item, and how you define quality, how you track quality, how you're able to report that. HR is a big area. People are very interested in turnover rates, open positions, timing of how long it takes people to onboard, perceptions of employees when they are hired, and perceptions of employees when they're on their exit, so that there's insight into why people are leaving. And then on the children's side, I don't think it's that big with EVV, but the EVV has become a big item as well. So as you look at these, you're looking at these subject areas that are relevant within your organization, and you may have additional ones, but these are some of the most prevalent, as I said. But as you look at these, there are 5 questions that we typically try to answer as we're working with reporting, and those are on the right side here. What are you measuring within those areas? What is your current status? Where are we today with that? Where are we today in number 3? Where are we today compared to where we want to be? Whether that's in relation to a budget, relation to a benchmark, where are we compared to where we want to be? And which way are we trending? Are we trending in a positive way or in a negative way? And if we're trending in either way, well, why, right? Do we know why? And as you build reporting and data management around these 5 questions, you gain a lot of insight to what's happening within the organization. Now, after you define your, we'll say, subject areas of where you want to look at data, the next thing is, how do you understand the different audiences that exist within those areas? And as we worked with providers, there are really 4 levels, and then there are subsets within each of these levels as well. But you have the board of directors. So in most providers, as nonprofits, there's a lot of energy and time spent pulling board reports. It can be daunting task. Executive leadership, the leadership team of the organization, what reporting and information do they want to see? Management, what do they want to see? And they're kind of the in between of, okay, I want to see the high-end things, the big picture piece, but yet I need to see the details so I can understand things by employee or by consumer that we serve. And then there's a staff level. So there's a lot of stuff that staff are doing today that are mainly done to either meet a compliance or to manage their workload. So you have these different levels. So as you think of what gets produced from BI, and that's on the left there on the bottom, you have dashboards, you have detailed reports, you have analytics, and you have insights that come from those. You have to focus those at each of these different levels. And it is a balance between the big picture and visualizations of charts and dashboards and detailed reports that have the nuts and bolts data. And this slide is, I think people understand it, but it is very much an art. It is not, it's not easy, and it takes time to figure out how to create that balance to be, we'll say, optimize the use of the technology to serve many people. But you have to take all that into consideration. Who is the end audience? Who's the end user of that data? What do they want to see? What's important to them? And then how we create that so that it's valuable to them. Now, after you get through that piece, this is a super important slide. As you have that created, it's then using and leveraging the cloud to be able to make access and transparency of that data. And probably one of the best examples that I've come across so far is Keystone Human Services uses BI within incident management. And they went from having things in Excel and 3 to 4 people, because they're a larger organization across 4 states, they had multiple people maintaining Excel files, but it was only housed by those people. When they transitioned over to BI, all that got automated. So all the work that they were doing got automated. I don't say all of it, but 80% of that work got automated. And now, instead of like it being limited to those people with BI, they take tablets, or if it's a Zoom meeting, they're pulling up dashboards and reports that are dynamic in the meeting. So as they're looking at regions or facilities or programs, and they're looking at incidents that occur, they can drill down from the top level to the individual consumer in like 2 clicks of a button. So these now become part of how they work. Dr. Kuntz is the VP of quality there. And I think she said it best. This has transformed the way we do our work. We now are no longer siloed. We now have the data at the fingertips of the people that need the data at a point in time when they need it. So it's very important. Access and transparency, appropriate access and transparency is very important. And as I said, the security within the Microsoft products can be customized however you want it. Okay, so as we move to the next piece, so now you have all this, you've got it built, you've rolled it out to people. This is the big question, right? This is from Field of Dreams. I don't know if any of you've seen this, but it's, if you build it, will they use it? And the answer is sometimes. I think there's other things that you have to do related to change management within the organization to get it there. It's something that you have to do, but it's something that is hugely impactful, but it's not a big deal. It's just they're basic things that you have to do. Most of those revolve around communication and training, but they make all the difference. And they're not huge things. It's making sure people understand, why is this important? Why is it important to the organization, and why is it important to me? Will it save me time? And BI, I have not once ever known BI to create time for people. It is a time saver, a significant time saver. And how will it help me do my job better? It's kind of taking this initiative, and it really doesn't matter what initiative, it's with any integration of technology into your organization, you have to go through this change management piece so that you can optimize the return on this. And then the last one is training, training, training. Even though it is point and click, and I'll go through it, it's simple in that way, but if you're not a technology person and you haven't done this, it's still something new. And one training session isn't going to suffice. So it takes a couple of training sessions, but makes all the difference in the world. As you think of change management as a process, these are all the big, we'll say, ticket items that go around that circle. But to me, the most important pieces are these 4 on the right. You know, why is it important? How will it save me time? How will it help me do my job better? Okay, so that's kind of a high-level overview. And within that, it's kind of giving you the basics of BI, some of the keys that you need to take into consideration if you're going to take this journey. And I'll use that term because it's an important term. BI is not something that you start and is done in a week. It is a journey that will last years. There are many steps that are important to take with it. Everything I've listed here, probably the one piece I didn't dig into, and it's been relevant with everyone that we've worked with. There's a process of data cleansing that you have to go through, and I would say, and this is a rough guess, I would say 70% of the time, most organizations don't even know they had the issue until they started to see the data through the visualizations. And then they realize, oh my goodness, this is inaccurate. How are we using this? Oh, we're billing incorrectly. So there's a whole data cleansing part of this that is good. Some people will use that as a reason not to start, and I think it is one of the reasons that you must start, because you have to fix those things. But you can, it's like eating an elephant. The way that you fix them is one bite at a time. You can't just gorge down an elephant. You got to eat one bite at a time. Not that I've ever eaten an elephant. But anyways, so now let's go into why do you do this. I'm going to share with you guys some specific, we'll call them screenshots and wireframes of what some of these look like, and then time permitting, and I think we're doing pretty good. Time permitting, I'll take you into an actual demo so you can see how the technology actually works. So let's start with executive leadership, and I'm going to share with you some examples. And again, if you have any questions, just raise your hand on the chat thing. So here's an example of kind of like a classic executive dashboard. It's taking 6 different areas within the organization, operating margin as a percentage, and tracking that quarter over quarter. It's looking at utilization and individuals served to know where you are quarter over quarter. It also looks at occupancy, if there was residential, for those organizations or providers that have residential homes. This looks at their occupancy compared to a threshold or target. Net assets of the organization, average margin or per procedure code, and this is broken down by the 2 major categories of programs: community-based programs and residential programs. And then in this dashboard, the last area is productivity. So it's looking at the community-based programs and productivity quarter over quarter. So a classic dashboard. You know, one of the organizations that we worked with shared this with their board, and the board came back and said, we can't thank you enough. This is the first time that we actually had some deeper insights into the organization that we're trying to work with. So they viewed it, the transparency, very, very favorably. Here's another one that does a little bit of a combination of data points related to utilization by programs. It's looking at authorized units, utilized units, the straight percentage that is related to that, the amount charged, what is normalized percentage, and what is a prorated expected amount. So it's then taking these bottom 2 are taking kind of where you are at a specific point in the year and determining what your normalized or expected areas are to be. And the system, those calculations and analytics are all done within BI. And then productivity is looking at each of those specific programs and being able to look at productivity over month. Now, the power of the BI, you can just as easy, and I'll show you an example of this in a little bit, you can just as easily click on this and drill down to the individuals that sit by cost center, by individual, by manager, however you want to slice or dice the data. It's very powerful in that. The next one is really looking at census and demographic information, a little bit of health tracking. So it's looking at a census by program. So at any point in time, leadership knows what our census counts are by the different programs that we have. And you can look at it by race, by religion, by zip code, however you want to look at it. And then this other one, this is a provider that's very cognizant of weight. So as a health factor, and then they've integrated social determinants of health into this to look at weight of the clients that they serve because it's a significant health factor. And so this is looking at those in different categories of overweight, obese, ideal, and underweight, and showing those and showing the trendings of those. I only have 2 more of these executive levels, and then we'll go into a deeper dive. This is looking at HR information to say, excuse me, number of years of service, and what those trends are, or not trends, but what those metrics are, average or salary expenses, number of employees, and then looking at expenses and counts by specific program within your area. And then this one is not a dashboard or scorecard. So this just gives you a good example of how to pull in. This is all your fiscal information, your budget information, individual serve, excuse me, incidents, ratios of incidents, needs level, productivity, utilization, billed units, average cost and margin, or revenue and margin of units. So this is kind of a one-stop shopping where you can get all these key indicators in one place by the different programs, and then it enables you to do analysis and comparison between the two, and then you can click on these and get to the trending report if you wanted to see the trending of these same metrics. I'm going to take a drink of water. Does anybody have a question? Raise your hand or enter the question. Okay, I think we're good. Sorry about that, my mouth gets dry. So let's take a deeper dive. So when we talked about the data moving over, and we talked about how to integrate into the source systems and pull that data automatically, and I think you probably get that easily conceptually how that works. This is a deep dive into incident management, and the only way to get this information is through EIM, and there's no direct interface into EIM. So I thought it would be valuable to share this with you and how to get the data out of EIM. Many providers will take the incident data out of the state, and then they'll also have different levels of incidents within their organization that they don't even submit to the state that they track, and that could be anything from administrative incidents to falls to things that are important to you, that are not required to be submitted to the state. And typically those would all be pulled together into your incident management. In this example, I'm only going to show you the process for the EIM stuff. So when you go into EIM, you have a dashboard there, and what most people do is they all their workflow falls under going to this dashboard and grabbing information out of here, and then staff typically enter that into Excel, and then they do a lot of manipulating of the data to organize it and understand what needs to be done within each of the incidents that they pull out of this dashboard. If you think about the power of BI, what that can do is, even though you can't interface directly into EIM, you can export under the reports kind of icon. You have 4 different reports that exist there: the incident complaint custom report, the target report, incident management review report, and the corrective actions report. All those can be exported, and 3 of them are standard. The incident and complaint custom report can be customized, so you can pull out, I don't know how many different sections, 20 some different sections or so that are listed there, and you can pull specific pieces of information: the incident description, incident detail for the initial and final phases, right? So it lists all that. So if you select what you wanted, and you select all types of incidents, you gave your date range, and you select all for primary and secondary category. If you grab those, they're going to be Excel files. If you put those in a location, and in this example it's SharePoint, but you could really put it anywhere. But if it sits in SharePoint, that now becomes your database. You can use that exactly as a database. So those files sit there, right? You then put the BI on top of those, and the BI can reach into those files, grab the data that you want, and be able to create your manipulation of it and to create your reports of it. So, and I'm going to show you an example of that, and then we're still good on time. So what I'll show you a live demo of it as well. So just to reinforce the power of BI. So now that you have it there, and I'm putting this on it to grab this information, and when you think of Power BI, it's a software just like Excel is, like Word is, like PowerPoint. It's a Microsoft software that just grabs the data and enables you to create visuals of that data. So now I have it in SharePoint. I'm going to put this on top of it, and I'm going to create reports. Here's an example of what a dashboard would look like. And I'm going to pull this actual one up into a demo in just a little bit here. But it breaks it down to, and the way that this has been built, and this goes back to that art, once you understand the frequency, and typically people look at incident management on a daily, monthly, and quarterly basis. Daily because they're managing things that need to be done, monthly to look at some trends and understand that, and then quarterly required by the state to submit. There's a quarterly report, and the whole report can be automated through the use of BI. But if you think about incident management, and if you organize your visualization in the steps of how the incident is identified, managed through the first section to the final section, through the investigation, through the corrective action piece, you now have laid out the data in the process that the event occurs and the workflow that you go through. It now provides great insight. So again, much more robust, and I'm going to show you this, but much more robust than going into EIM and looking at their dashboard, where all I have to do is export those files, put Power BI on top of it, and create these reports, and now I have way more insights. So why is it all important? Typically, it's a huge time saver. And these calculations were based off of several discussions and kind of time studies with providers, but anywhere from 50 to, and if you're a larger provider, over $250,000 in spending in time savings by using the technology to automate data management, right? Behind direct service delivery, data management is the #1 thing, most time-consuming thing that a provider does. And as I said, most providers have tons and tons of data, but very few are effective and efficient in the use of that data. And then, you know, it goes back to the framework of excellence and what you're trying to do. And when you integrate that in a culture of continuous process improvement, it's how you move the organization forward. It's the absolute key to success. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing for a minute, and we're going to go into the demo. We have 20 minutes left, and I'm going to go through that incident management report. Now I have other pieces in the demo, so when I go into the initial screen, if there's other pieces, well, we'll get through the incident management piece first, and then if you want to, other things that you might want to see, you could raise your hand and ask for that. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can pull up the demo. Just bear with me for 1 minute, please.
I will put the poll back up. I guess it's going to ask you all to vote again. So I'm sorry, the 8 of you who already voted. There you go.
Yeah, David, you want to, oh, it's going out now. I was going to say we could talk about the poll a little bit.
Now, the results from the first poll seemed that it takes quite a long time to develop meaningful reports for just about everyone polled. Board level reports, the majority took 3 or more days. and a lot of falses on various, it is easy to access and share my data questions.
Yeah, so the good news on those is everybody's in the same place today, right? So you're not alone, right? And so as we work through it, it's good to share with each other and learn from each other what you're doing. David, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just didn't have the outline. So again, the intent of this is to give you a little bit of a sample of how the technology works. So in each of these little areas are hyperlinks to different pages or views. This starts with consumers and shows the number of consumers and the number of incidents each of those consumers has, and then it's in a descending order right now. This looks at the facilities that those consumers are in and gives you the count by there, and then this shows it by region. Don't get caught up necessarily in the specifics of it. I'm showing it more to give you insight of how the technology works. And again, not a super huge lift to create some of these. So right now we're looking at a time period of July through December, but I can change that by just sliding that. And if I unleash it, the whole dashboard updates to that time period. So I can adjust this to whatever I want to adjust it to. And then the views will all change for that. The second piece is there's the ability to put filters or sliders. So this gives you options so that if I wanted to, we'll say, look at a point person or a director or whoever is responsible for certain regions, I could select that person and it will update that whole dashboard to their information. Similar to, again, if I had a director and responsible for a region, I could create very quickly a director dashboard. And then if I wanted to clear that, I just hit that little erasure and it goes back. And I can do this by county. I could do a consumer specific one. I can do it by show me, if I only wanted to see hospitalizations, I can click on that. And then the whole dashboard updates for just hospitalizations. So the ways to slice or dice the data are almost endless, but very powerful, and then that can be hidden. This one looks at the consumers. This one looks at the incidents themselves by primary and secondary category. This is a good example here to show how you can drill down within the data. Then the other thing that was there, and I hovered over it real quick, this can also give you, it's called a tooltip. So within these 41, if I wanted to, if it was important to me and I wanted to have additional insight to that data point very quickly without having the end user go somewhere else to run another report or do whatever, I can build it into it. And so this is saying, oh, here's the 41 incidents that occurred or medication errors, but what counties were they in? So I know how that looks within my organization. This is just an example, right? So you can very quickly see that. These arrows are your ability to drill down. So I can drill down from the year to the quarter to the months in a couple of clicks of the button. And then for some of these, and I'll go back to the consumer one, that are really cool. So if I wanted to look at this consumer, I can look at what facility they're in, what the primary category was. And if I do what's called a drill through, I can go right to the incident detail and see those 3 incidents and see whatever detail I wanted to provide. So this gives you all the insights that are from that EIM report. If I wanted to go back to that, I just go right back to that. So again, almost endless ways to drill down within it. What we tried to do, and as you think about this, if you're going to build these, it's important to look at each within the subject matter that's relevant. Then we look at it by a programmatic area, which will be typically the different programs within an organization. Then we look at it from a subject matter. So we're looking at incident management versus finance versus HR, but I want to understand the information within that subject, right? And then we look at it at a management level. So if I wanted to see it by the individuals within the organization, here's by director, by point person, right? And I can drill down from director and go to the manager within a director. If I wanted to pick a specific director and say director 5 here, I only want to see their information. If I click on that and then click on director 5, it only shows me the managers that roll up to that. This whole dashboard just updated to director 5. But we look at it from a management perspective, and then we look at it from a geographical perspective. And that could be by region, county, or this is looking at specific facilities. And then I can look at the facilities by primary category and by incidents by month. So we look at it in those dimensions. Now, as you go through the process, this is, well, here's the first section, timeliness, that's going to tell me yes or no, was it submitted on time? And then again, all that drill down capabilities are there. But if I wanted to see it in a matrix form, I now have it by month, and I have a number of incidents. The first number of first sections submitted on time, number submitted late, and then percentages and calculations of all those. But if I want to expand that and look at August, I can then look at and see by facility or by whatever I wanted to put there. And then, oh, here's one that was submitted late. Well, let's look at that. If I look at this and, oops, sorry, look at it submitted late, I'm going to go to that one incident, and I now am at the very detailed level. And this kind of goes back to what I talked about before. The technology is very powerful to take you at a very high level down to a very granular level very quickly. Then it looks at finalization timeliness as the process, and looks at, you know, how many were finalized timely, how many were finalized late, how many are open and not due. And again, similar to the other one where you can look at the different facilities or details within that. Then this is looking at the investigation outcomes by region, by director, by month, what has been confirmed, what is inconclusive, and what is not confirmed. And then we look at corrective actions. And in this next report is another kind of art thing, actually, that David was a catalyst for designing. This is looking at corrective actions and incidents by corrective action, so that I have insight to that. This one is probably a better one, where it looks at your consumers that have had in descending order of corrective actions. But if I wanted to look at a specific consumer, I click here, and then here's the detail of that consumer, those specific 4 incidents, what they were, and what the corrective action was. So a good combination of graphics and detail. And if I want to get into specifics or drill down to the detail, and then in this, you can always add additional data here. If you wanted notes or so forth in there, you can add that in, and you just scroll across and you would see that added there. So that was all I had. We have this is a demo piece. Let me shrink this. Here's our demo world. So we have census information, we have productivity information, we have utilization information. What are there any other things that the group would want to see an example of? Because we have like 9 minutes left, and I'm kind of through the pieces that I wanted to go over with you. So glad to share something else. Well, Jennifer has her hand up. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. So thank you for walking us through all this. I am curious if you could show us what an example of like what the raw data may look like prior to getting into the tool. Because we have our data and we're working on transforming it and reformatting it from that human-friendly look to the more computer, clean data. So, learning the tool and learning how the best way to like connect that data. I'm just curious if you could show us what that raw data may look like prior to getting into the pretty formatting.
What you're asking what the data structures look like?
Yeah. Just like the structure of it. Like, so I notice here you have a lot of, it looks like data sets.
Yeah, well, these are reports. The data sets will come in a couple different forms, but probably the best way to think about it some reason I'm not here. Let me see if I can do it. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do it here. The best way to think about it is a classical Excel file, Jennifer, where you have rows and columns, and the columns at the top have a header, a descriptive that tells you what data is in that column, and then the rows are going to be the data for each of those column headers. And typically, when you think about a database, it is a table. A table is just a matrix of rows and columns. And so that's how it would look like in a database, but without the database, like Excel or a CSV file format, comma delimited format is how you typically got to have the data. Did I answer your question?
Yes, I think more so it's about, I guess, is there a training that you find to be most efficient for this Power BI tool to help better understand, that you would recommend, just understanding the various aspects of it, because I know that they have the 3 different versions.
Yeah, so obviously if you go out to YouTube,
Okay.
and then there's a lot of videos, and you can query specific things that you want to do within Power BI, and there's a lot of good tools and videos out there. The other place, if you have Power BI, here is the Learning Center. So if I click on, can you still see my screen?
Yes.
If I click on the Learning Center, it takes you to, within the tool, Microsoft, and when we work with our clients, we give them some FAQs. It's kind of like your basics. Here's how you expand a filter. Here's how you work a filter. Here's how you can export, like all that data that we shared there. And I can go back and show some of that to you. You can export it. But here you can go into their Learning Center and how to get started with Power BI, and it'll go through. You would want to determine what type of user. Like, so if I'm a beginner and I'm a business user, that right, versus I'm a data analyst or a Power Platform user, right? But these tools in here are very good as well.
Okay.
And it's built right into the software. Now, what like Jennifer, any software. Oops, sorry. Let me go back to the Power BI.
Scott, if you right-click on your back button on your browser there, you can go all the way back to wherever you need to go.
Yeah, let's go back to there. So as we work with people, I'm going to go to a different one. I don't like. Yeah, that's what I wanted. We'll go into cost counting. But as you look at different reports, and this is just showing the cost distribution of administrative, but in here, Jennifer, you have all the tools that exist within this. So you have filters over here, you have different icons up here, you have a way to bookmark things, you have a way to expand your view, and then within each of these, and I'll go to a different one to show you, like, so I'll give you a demo. This is what's called a weekly report. So this is billing and service information that's done on a weekly basis. But if I wanted to expand that view, I can expand that view, right? If I want to go back and I wanted to see that view with the view and the data, it'll show me that. So this type of stuff, it's like any software, Jennifer. Those are just little tricks and things that you got to learn. What we typically do is we have an FAQ, like, that we provide people that goes through each of those icons and what it does, and so that's kind of like part of the beginner piece as well.
The like table view.
You're hard to hear, David. I'm sorry.
Show them the table view where it shows the background data structure.
That would be helpful. Yeah.
Oh wait, I'll go back. Hold on.
The point is that each of these reports represent maybe 5 or 6 different tables, all interlinked in various ways.
Yeah, there's
the source of
this
which could be an Excel file that you export from whatever source system, or an export directly from that source system, or a manually maintained mapping table to make sure that those things talk nicely.
Okay.
Yeah, typically the 2 ways you do it. There's an edit button here, Jennifer, that you can, and that's in the demo. And in the demo, and it's not. I can't get to it. That'll show you, give you the ability to open up and see each of the tables that are related to the specific report. But for whatever reason in this, it's not providing me that in the demo. And then the other place to do that is in the demo. You have each of these reports. I can then, there's usually headers up here that enable me to see the data structures that are related to those reports and are shown by an orange icon below it. And then it'll show you all the tables there. And it does all the documenting to show what table, what data data elements feed that, right? But I'm in this demo and it's not letting me get there, so I apologize.
Oh no, that's okay. I think that just hearing how you were working through it and the discussion has been helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Well, I'm going to take that as a no. So you get, it is 8:50 or 11:58. You get, well, 11:59. Now you get 1 minute back in your day. You know, our contact information was on the one email, and if not, you can reach out to Kim if you wanted to. Like Jennifer, if you had any questions, more than glad to help you with answer any questions, especially if it's something that, you know, you're stuck on something and you can't figure something out. More than glad to provide insight to that. That's not a big deal. We can help in any way we can. Yeah, for sure. But it's like any other software. The more you get in there and use it, the easier it is. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. Have a great weekend, great day, and appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.